Hello, hello. Good morning, I'm Chris. I'm from the sunniest place in Scotland, Dundee. And for Josh, Perth's over there, not down there. So I'm here, I work for NatWest Bank. I'm here to talk about our journey in platform engineering, platform as a product. But before I get into that, I'm going to talk about my journey here today, how we got into this stage. And I'm going to trace it right back. There's a few people in the UK, in the audience today, who will remember this. The ZX Spectrum. December 25th, 1982, I trace all my IT back to there. 8 years old, getting one of these. It was made 500 meters from where I live, or lived back then. It was made by people in my community. It's probably my first recollection of community. You know, these people had been making watches before. They couldn't tell you how to operate a computer. They couldn't tell you how to program it, but they could make as many of these as you wanted, right? And that Christmas in Dundee, nearly every kid had one of those. And that spawned tons of communities. You know, it spawned communities sharing games, because we all copied them tape to tape, right? Communities learning how to program them, you know, 64K. 64K, right? My iPhone's got 6 gig on it at the moment, right? We've probably all got stories here about containers that we've heard from other places that are requiring 20 gig to run, right? 64K. And we were all learning how to peek and poke and do all sorts of stuff in there and learn basic. And that's kind of what got me started on my journey. But it gave me kind of a feeling of community. It started to make me understand that actually communities exist. It's good to be part of them. It's good to share. So, like a lot of you, I was here last year. That was me, sitting in the audience, listening to all these great presenters. I mean, how do I follow Sarah, right? Out down on the stage. Brilliant presentation. And lots of great presentations. And, you know, could I do that? Oh, I'm not sure. I'm really nervous. You know, it's a scary thing, especially for a big bloke like me. You know, where you're standing up in front of all your peers, people who know more than you, and you're going to come across as a blubbering idiot, you know? Well, for me, dyslexia is my superpower, right? So that's one of the things in my head. It's like, oh, will the words come out right? Will I get them back to front? Will I make sense? I don't know. I've got a strong Dundonian accent. I'm really fixated on this AI thing, and I want to say a lot of Dundonian things, but I'll better keep that, because no one will understand it, right? There's hope for us yet. And then the other thing is, you know, 30 years in the IT industry, I must be doing something right, but I've got imposter syndrome, like a lot of people have, right? And that plays in my mind as well. So, can I do it? Especially when I think about coming along to a room like this and nobody shows up, right? That is a really scary thing, you know? So thanks for coming, right? You've helped me get over one of those fears today. Social media is terrible. And when I was going out to present at KubeCon Paris, Liz Rice posted this. I was like, oh my God, look at that room. First time presenter. Look at this studio that they're presenting in. I'm going to have to stand in that. You know, and that's me traveling in, actually wanting to get off the train, get the train back, get the plane back and go home, right? But I stuck with it. And I stuck with it because I've got really good friends in the community, this community. You know, Sidekick Derek isn't here today. I'm doing this on my own, right? The training wheels have finally come off. But, you know, there's lots of people in this community that can help you get onto the stage. There's lots of opportunities. You know, you've got your local meetups. They're small. They're people you know. They'll help you. Everyone's wanting you to do well, right? And just share all the information, the things that you're doing. Just start talking. You know, you don't have to be brilliant. I'm not brilliant. But, you know, the more you do it, the better you get, right? I look at Nick, I look at Abby, I look at a lot of people I know who do brilliant presentations. You know, Adrian's there. I was so impressed with him at KubeCon on the massive stage, and he just took it in his stride, right? As if it was, oh, well, it doesn't matter. Just presenting, right? I heard lots of different techniques on how you do that. I think it was monkeys and bananas you were talking about last night, right? Naked people. There's all these different techniques that you can use, right? So I gave it a go. Stood up at KubeCon, presented. It was at the Platform Engineering Day. It was brilliant. And then since then, you know, I've talked at KubeCrash, I've talked at a Finos conference, I take part in a CNCF platform working group in the coffee meetups, I'm out at Salt Lake City on a panel, I'm here today. You know, I've really thrown myself at this year just to try something different, try and give back to our community. Because I think the more of us that do that, the better our community becomes. And I got a lot out of that, I met a lot of my heroes, some of them here today, Salah Boy's here, hiya. Met you for the first time, right? Victor was there, I was hanging out with Abby and Paula, Whitney was there, people who I follow, people who I respect in the community. I'm having great conversations with them, getting a lot of feedback about what we're doing, feeding it back into what we're doing, listening to some of the differences of opinions as well. It's just brilliant coming to events like this and networking. We were talking yesterday about the hall tracks or the, just talking outside of the events. That's where most things happen. Just try networking, just throw yourself in it, do the Pac-Man. I was really impressed by someone who's in the audience, or was yesterday, I saw her yesterday. Last year, she was going around and she was capturing everyone's LinkedIn. She actually taught us how to use LinkedIn properly. Click on the top bar, find how you scan, right? And she was using the Pac-Man, and she was, who are you and what do you do? And speed networking. It was very impressive, right? And that stuck with me. It's like all these things seem to just stick with me. So if I can do it, you can do it too, right? I want to see some of you up here next year. Anyway, back to the day job. So I work for NatWest Bank. Who in the audience doesn't know who NatWest Bank are? Anyone? Right. So we're one of the top 4 banks in the UK. We serve probably over 19 million customers now. We've got 62,000 staff worldwide, right? So when I'm talking, I'm usually talking about scale. There's an awful lot of vendors and organizations that are set an opinion who have maybe 200 staff. And they're trying to say, this is how you should do stuff. Well, yeah, maybe. But when you're a big organization, sometimes you've got to say, yeah, but. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today, right? I mean, we're hugely successful. An old statistic there, 1 in 4 UK payments processed by us back in 2021, 750 million financial transactions per month, 94% of all our customers' needs met digitally. I work in the cloud platforms area. And again, hugely successful. We've been on a cloud transformation journey since probably about 2017. We've been doing it before, but the main kind of event started in 2017. I should really be looking there to see the screen rather than this way. And we've got hundreds of public cloud subscriptions. We've got thousands of applications running in private cloud and things running in public cloud as well. We've got hundreds of apps on our Gen 1 container platform, right? We've got all this stuff. We've got automated security controls. We've got multi-cloud. And when I say multi-cloud, we've got every cloud, right? So our challenges are maybe different from some other organizations. And why am I here today? Well, Daniel talked about it yesterday. Nobody gets sacked for listening to Gartner anymore, right? It's a bit like nobody gets sacked for using IBM. But actually, I think we can see from KubeCon with Platform Engineering Day, we can see PlatformCon, we can see the people who've been talking. Sarah was talking about platforms earlier, Daniel was talking about it, Kat was talking about it. By 2026, they predict that about 80% of large orgs are going to start using platform engineering teams to do things faster, do things better, do things simpler. And that's the journey that we're on, that we're trying to share today. And so, what's the problem that we're really trying to solve with this platform engineering journey? Well, it's all about the time to market. It's really about getting things out there quicker to our customers. I mean, things are evolving so fast now, probably faster than they've ever evolved before. And there's more expectations on the developers. So, like Sarah was talking about, cognitive load is huge. You think about someone that's new to an organization, the training they need to get to understand AI, public cloud, so they've got to learn, okay, is it AWS, is it Azure, is it GCP, you do multi-cloud, is it both of those? Are you using Kubernetes, using Helm, Java, right? What is it that they've got to learn before they can actually be successful? Obviously, got to watch the money. Now, everyone thinks that, as a bank, you've got lots of money and you're dishing out to everyone, right? Well, no, we especially we're Scots, really frugal, right? We've got to kind of manage that money really well and make choices about the budgets that we've all got, right? It's all about the people as well. You can't just keep throwing more and more people at it, right? Because that costs more and more money. So how do you not burn out your people? How do you get them to be efficient? You've got to think about all those things. How do you make it repeatable? Especially when you've got 62,000 staff, right? Now, it's not all our staff, massive organization, lots of people doing different things. But I don't know, let's say, our IT division's a third of that number, a quarter of that number, even a fifth of the number. It's still a huge number, right? So how do we get them to start doing these things repeatedly? And how do we move from things being kind of done manually, DevOps type processes, to more fully automated, fully baked in? Enterprise transformation, if you're not from the enterprise world, you won't really appreciate it, right? But it's really difficult. You've got tens of departments, you've got hundreds of teams, you've got thousands of staff, right? And the number one thing you need to do is keep the show on the road. Doesn't matter what you're working on, development-wise and change, run the bank is the most important thing, right? People need to be able to get their money out of the bank. People need to be able to run their lives. So whatever we are doing, we've got to make sure that that show's always running on the road as well, which invariably means you've kind of got two camps. You know, you've got change the bank and you've got run the bank. And somehow you need to synchronize those over time, and you need to introduce that change over time in a really gradual and controlled way. So as I said, we're probably on now phase 3 of our cloud adoption. You know, we've kind of had everyone did the Gen 1, tipping your toe in the water, learning about it. Then you productionize that. We're now on this new journey around platform as a product, platform engineering, containerization. That's why we're all here, right? Kubernetes conference, all talking about Kubernetes. That's the way forward for most orgs. And the problem for us, trying to solve this over and over again, this isn't a new problem. It's always occurring. We're always refining. Probably the last time we did this, we built up this library, you know, this just, it's a bit dusty now, but massive library of 135 patterns. Those started out as runbooks, you know, the easy way of doing things. If you do this, you follow these, talk to these people, tick this box, fill in this spreadsheet, whatever that process is, right? That's going to be your easy path and you'll get through governance. But start thinking about that over time. People start stuffing things into that and adding new pages in between other ones and more processes. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Better and better, but it's not achieving what it was set out to achieve, which was the fast path, that golden path. It's now become slow. So, you know, for us, the problem is, how do we take that stuff? How do we add all this new stuff that's coming, this unsustainable growth of AI, new technologies, the evolution in Kubernetes and everything else, and the complexity that comes with that, and make it even faster, right? Come on, work. There we go. So the reason we're doing this, and the reason I'm talking here, is that, you know, our leadership gave us kind of 4 challenges. Probably the main one is to go 10 times faster, 4 times more efficient, and do things in a really simplified way. Could we use this new platform engineering, platform as a product way of doing things? You know, how can, like as Sarah said, you know, you can't solve everything yourself. How can we start getting other teams to contribute to the platform rather than us having to build the platform all the time? How do we start pushing that out in a kind of open source model, right? Democratize development, let them start contributing. If they see a feature, maybe they want to add that rather than us having to add it. So these are the things that we started working on. We started working a year ago on that, maybe a bit more. And we're still sharing that journey. I'm not here talking about a finished piece of work. I'm talking about what we're doing right now, very early stages, but we've been talking to an awful lot of people in the industry. And we've been listening to a lot of people in the industry. Hey, spinning Abbey. Just carrying that over again. So, you know, we went wide, we went deep, we talked to a lot of people, we listened to a lot of things, you know, Platform Con, YouTube, there's so much info there now about platform engineering, platform as a product. And the things that we got out of that, and the feedback that we've got from people is it's all about a change in thinking and approach. And we've talked about a lot of that. You've heard a lot of people talk about that over the last couple of days. You know, whether it was Kat, whether it was Daniel, there's a lot of really knowledgeable people sharing a lot of really good information. So suck it up, right? Listen to it, because it's good advice. And a lot of it is about baking everything in. All of those guide rails and everything that we were talking about, all those processes, bake them in. It's all about kind of no consumer-based orchestration. I'll talk about that in a couple of slides' time. But if you think about these runbooks, you know, people were raising ServiceNow requests. They're orchestrating those themselves. Just think about the time that that's involved and the amount of teams involved, the amount of people, the amount of cost, right? That's all the stuff that we're trying to shrink down. It's not to say ServiceNow and tools like that don't have a part. They do. But how do we simplify it? And it's all about this end-to-end provisioning of services in minutes, not hours, not days, not weeks, or even months that it might have taken in the past, right? How do we get that down to 1 hour? And how do we do this inner sourcing and a democratization type thing? So we looked at those patterns that you know, I talked about, that kind of library. And we classified them, right? We looked at the runbooks, we kind of identified the types that we've got, and we've got ones that we've done an awful lot of enabling on. You know, we've been really successful at giving our business units Terraform and tools and saying, on you go, here's how you do public cloud, here's how you adopt it. And they've built teams and they've built fantastic stuff for our customers. We've got some teams that maybe aren't as technical. Maybe some of these runbooks are a bit harder to automate. And so they're processes, right? Where it's ServiceNow, self-orchestration, they'll raise the requests, they'll provide some information, and somebody else will provision something for them. So you can't really do full automation there. It's partial, right? Between these two things, they can still go off and they can build stuff, but there's a time built into that. There's a lag built into that. And then there's this new world, this platform as a product type approach, where it's trying to say, well, wait a minute, you just go to Backstage and you click one of those and it's done. You don't really need to know how it's done. You just go, I want one of those, please, right? It's like going to Amazon. Can I get that tomorrow, please? And it arrives at your front door. Magic. You don't really need to know how it's provisioned, right? It just arrives. So we've started looking at those things, and we've started looking at kind of the type 2s that I've got there, the self-orchestrated. How do we turn those into those self-services? But then also, if we start thinking about the self-managed stuff that people are building, those processes that were put in place over time, the guide rails, a lot of those were about trying to guide those people and control what they did. But if we're automating that, do we actually need to do that anymore? Maybe we need to reimagine that. Maybe we can change things and simplify them. So we've started doing that as well. We spent a lot of time going through those. We looked at a lot of the different patterns that we had, and the one thing that we found was that some of those were just customization. This app needed it done this way. This app needed that done that way. Well, let's strip that out. Let's strip out the customizations and let's get back to a standard way of doing things. Sometimes in larger orgs, you need to do that, right? So, I've talked about it a lot this year. We use Kratix. We've been working with the Syntasso guys. We've been using Kratix. I describe Kratix as Lego building blocks. We create these units of automation. We can bolt them together. We can build something. We can build the Death Star, right? That's it. Job done. I'm finished. Thanks. Now, so Kratix, if we're technical conference, right, we need to go a little bit deeper. So all Kratix is, it's a CRD. We're creating some APIs in a very consistent manner for all these different components, or even the products that we're creating. It's just a consistent API. There's a pipeline inside there that deals with all our dependencies and some of the things like scanning and governance, and it's all working in a GitOps model. So we're moving from DevOps to GitOps model. It doesn't have to be on Kubernetes. It uses Kubernetes, but it can provision stuff off Kubernetes as well. It can call APIs. Okay, so it's an orchestrator. Just like people were talking about yesterday. Daniel was talking about that middle layer. That's exactly what it is. We're using that middle layer to orchestrate stuff. We're using the front end for self-service. Oh, we've got a 3-tier app now that's doing a lot of this stuff. Great. People can start contributing these promises, right? They can put their Lego in the box. People in the future can start creating new things out. It doesn't have to be a Death Star. It could be a TIE fighter. It could be somebody else that's building it, right? It doesn't have to be the platform team anymore. That's our ultimate goal. Platform team doesn't need to know what you're going to build. You've got the bits. Go and build something amazing, right? Now, it'll take time to get there, and that's the thing. These journeys are not easy, and I'm quickly running out of time. So normally, Derek would do a demo. Well, Derek's on holiday, and the training wheels are off. So if you want a demo, go downstairs, go and talk to Syntasso, and you'll see this great stuff, and I'll give you an idea kind of what we're doing. Or look at YouTube. There's demos on there from what we've done in previous talks. But really, this messy diagram, right, typical corporate diagram, shows that we're going from having jigsaw pieces that are enabling people to do things and they can put it together themselves into nicely structured building blocks, right, that are creating products and providing that via Backstage and Teams via APIs. Job done. Almost. A big part for us is obviously the Kubernetes ecosystem. We're now talking a lot. James McLeod has joined an organization. He looks after our OSPO, Open Source Program Office. Really, we're trying to use open source more than we ever did in the past. The CNCF landscape, right? Someone yesterday described that. 1 minute left, no chance. You were several minutes over, right? I'll go quick. So we're using a lot of that. We're trying to use open source first and then see how we get on and figure out if we're going to contribute to that community or we're going to buy the commercial version. But we're going to try and start with the open source version first, right? And then see how we can move things forward. Start doing things iteratively. So the work in progress, because I'm going to have to go quick, a lot of what we're doing is really focused on engineer upskilling and transformation. You think about like all these different divisions that we've got. I even think about my division. We've got lots of existing platform teams who've got to do those two things I talked about, run the bank, change the bank. Well, we're now adding this into the mix as well, right? So you've got to do upskilling, training, get them in this new mindset, a lot of which is about moving from DevOps to GitOps. That's new for a lot of people, so don't underestimate the time that takes. We're working on a managed EKS product via self-service portal. You know, Kubernetes conference, of course I'm going to talk about that. But we've also got some single-page web app applications, really simple type stuff. We've reimagined that. We've simplified the process for people. And it's available there as well. We're working with our alpha customers. It's all about non-prod right now, and then over time we'll add in all those controls and things that's required for prod. Most of the need at the moment is actually about development. So let's enable the development. Let's get new people into the org, able to contribute maybe day one rather than, I don't know, day 50, day 60, whatever it might have taken in the past. Right, quick, I'm going faster. So I want to do 3 myth busts. A lot of these smaller vendors that you might hear in the community all talk about, you know, platforms shouldn't be mandated, you shouldn't build it and they will come. Even Netflix talked about it, right? They spent 12 months building something, they came back and said nobody used it, right? We've all heard those stories. Well, in larger orgs, and you kind of need to sell it. You need to build up that trust. You need to have something that people can touch. MVP, POC, whatever you want to call it, you need to have something that they can start using and start giving you feedback on. Talk to your customers about it. Find out why it doesn't work for them, and then start making those changes, right? So, yes, you do need to build it and they will come. But actually, it's not build it, it's engage, right? I think that's the number one thing, is start engaging with your internal communities. Start having these conversations as early as you can. So platforms shouldn't be mandated. Now, I'm never going to go against anything that the WISE manual says, right? We're big fans of team topologies, but there's an awful lot of people out there saying you shouldn't mandate the platforms. If you're trying to standardize, if you're trying to maybe pull things back from maybe enabling too much, you kind of do need to start mandating, start using these managed platforms that we're going to make available, please. You're not being too prescriptive, you're publishing things, you're getting them to engage and contribute, right? And you're giving them examples that they can extend, but you kind of need to start saying, here's how you're going to operate going forward, right? Somebody has to give that leadership. It can't just be a free-for-all, especially with our size. So start thinking about that one, right? And then the final one, right? Agile's easy, right? Agile's quick. Everything's done within a second, right? Yeah? No? How many of your execs, hands up, see if you're all still awake, how many of your execs are asking you to go slower? Hey, time's up, right? The answer is none, right? Nobody put their hands up. I'm almost on time, that's really good, right? Just to balance things out, so that was the final slide, but to balance it out, because there was far too many cats yesterday. So I'm going to finish on the dogs, right? These are my dogs. I was Chris, thank you very much.